Now, it's not just a fight to save jobs we're facing at the moment, but a fight to save our companies from the foreign giants. Some, like Pacific Brands, have already given in to places like China. But as James Thomas reports, more and more Aussie companies are determined to stay, placing people ahead of profits.
We want to have opportunities for our children and our children's children to have a job as well.
These workers are losing their jobs because their boss sold out to head overseas. But it will never happen here. These jobs are safe.
We're proudly and passionately Australians. We started in Australia and we intend to continue that way.
You know, we are very strongly behind Australian-made, family-owned.
I want to keep the jobs locally.
Hardened by years of fighting for a share in difficult markets, these bosses are fighting back.
My staff have been with me for a long time and I want to make sure that their jobs are secure with that.
Natasha Gann designs, manufactures and sells women's clothing.
It's become a lot more difficult in the last few years just because button suppliers, trims, embroiderers, they're closing up because there's not enough business for them locally. So, yeah, I'm scared to see what will happen in the future with that.
In an industry gutted by cheap Chinese imports, Natasha adapted to survive.
The public like innovation and design. They want something different. China, everything's the same. Everyone looks the same. So in every Westfield and every shop, all you see is Chinese product. So it's nice to have a point of difference.
This company is doing exactly the opposite to Pacific Brands, which sacked 1,800 workers while at the same time doubling executive salaries. Whereas here, jobs have been saved because board members personally took a pay cut of 20%.
You've got to make these tough decisions, but we made it from the top down. A lot of companies, a lot of boards, the first thing they do is sack the workers on the factory floor. Well, we disagree with that. We start at the overheads at the top and work down.
Alan Beard is the fourth generation of AH Beard, a 110-year-old family business which has survived fires, the Great Depression, recessions and the challenge of cheap Chinese labour.
It's a growing struggle. Labour costs, are more expensive here in Australia. However, I guess as a company we've invested in the latest technology to make sure that we're the most efficient we could possibly be.
He admits he considered taking part of his business offshore, but in the end just couldn't stomach it.
I think it undermines all the investment that we've made in all these factories and the people and their knowledge. We'd hate to have to turn around and tell some of these people that, sorry, we're taking it off to Guangzhou or somewhere. We've got some workers down here in this factory who've worked here their whole life, 40-odd years. I think that'd be a terrible thing to do.
We decided to keep our business here in Australia because we want to keep Australians working.
Brisbane company Septone manufactures chemicals for the marine, mining and transport industries. It began with one man and an office under a house. Now it employs 60, including National Sales Manager Rob O'Neill.
The Australian culture is of hard working, and we think it's important to keep hard-working Australians employed.
Well-run companies, well-resourced and skilled companies, yes, they can do manufacturing very, very well in this country.
But Australian-made, Australian-owned campaign chief executive Ian Harrison is adamant the government isn't doing much to help.
Our government provides probably less support for its manufacturing sector than most other governments. Whether they own up to it or not, the other governments, they do get in there and help. Even the Chinese governments, for example, give rebates to their exporters. So after all their low costs and everything else, they then get a rebate on exports.
But we can all help.
If people went out and spent that on, trips overseas or buying LCDs, it doesn't do a great deal to help our economy. But if people go out there and spend that money on Australian-made items or products which are made in Australia, keeping people employed, we'll come out of this recession a lot quicker.
And don't forget, if you want to buy Australian, you will find the Aussie-owned brands guide for supermarkets on our website. It's always there. Soon on Today Tonight.